Finding water deep underground, it sounds kind of ancient, right? You picture dowsing rods, dusty old maps, a whole lot of guesswork. But today, it's a super high-stakes, high-tech industry. And for decades, it's been a massive multi-million-dollar gamble. So let's dive into how artificial intelligence is completely changing the odds.
So the question is pretty simple, really. When drilling for water can cost an absolute fortune, how do you make sure you aren't just, well, literally throwing millions of dollars into a hole in the ground?
Okay, so our story kicks off at a ski resort in Kayseri, Turkey. Now, these developers, they had a huge ambition. They wanted to find thermal water, the hot stuff deep underground, to supply their hotels with heating and these amazing thermal baths. So what did they do? They started drilling, and they just kept on drilling.
So they drilled 2 wells. The first one went down 2,400 meters. The second, an unbelievable 2,500 meters deep. And the cost? A jaw-dropping 5 million euros. The result for all that effort? Nothing. Completely, devastatingly dry. Just poof, 5 million euros gone.
Okay, so the whole project is on the brink of total failure. But then a new team comes in. This company called Aquafuture. And here's the thing. They didn't show up with bigger drills or a bunch of old-school geologists. They brought something else entirely. They brought data.
And the difference here is just staggering. Seriously, look at this. The old way, 2 wells, almost 5,000 meters of drilling, and nothing. Totally empty. Then you have Aquafuture. They used their data-driven method, drilled just 1 well, and only had to go 430 meters deep. That's less than a tenth of the old depth. And guess what? They hit the jackpot. A thermal vein pumping out hot water exactly where their model said it would be.
And you can really see the 2 outcomes right here. On one side, you've got the result of the big gamble. Just a barren patch of land hiding a 5 million euro mistake. And on the other side, the result of science. A working rig successfully tapping into this critical resource. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that Aquafuture didn't find water by just digging deeper. No, they found it by looking smarter. The secret wasn't about brute force at all. It was all about intelligence, gathered from way up high.
Their whole method is built on this really revolutionary idea. It's a service that's 100% remote. Think about that. They use this powerful mix of satellite imagery, existing geological data, and their own special AI to literally see what's going on underground, all without ever having to set foot on the property. So how does this actually work? Well, their process breaks down into 4 key steps. First, they collect a ton of data. We're talking satellite stuff, geological maps, topography, all gathered remotely. Then the AI gets to work. Their special algorithm sifts through all that information, looking for these tiny hidden patterns that are linked to underground water. Step 3, the AI builds a model, basically creating a predictive map that shows exactly where the water veins are, how deep they are, and even how they flow. And finally, the last and maybe most important step, precision targeting. The system spits out the exact GPS coordinates for the exact place to drill, completely taking all the guesswork out of it.
And listen, this isn't just some niche tech that nobody's heard of. Their innovative approach is starting to get some serious mainstream attention. I mean, they were even featured right here in Expansión, which is a huge financial newspaper in Spain. That kind of thing really helps validate their method on a global stage,
Okay, so you might be thinking, that's a great story for one ski resort in Turkey, but was that just a fluke? Was it just bad luck? I mean, is drilling for water really that hit or miss everywhere else? Is this actually a widespread problem?
Well, the answer, unfortunately, is a big yes. And this quote from the Elios project is pretty eye-opening. In a lot of developing countries, about half of all new wells end up being dry holes or just don't produce enough water. It's literally a coin toss. And this isn't just about losing money, it's a critical failure when it comes to providing a resource that people, need to live.
And the data, it shows this is a clear global pattern. So you look at places like Ethiopia and Kenya. With the old methods, your success rate is hovering around 50%. But when you bring in advanced mapping tech like satellite analysis, that rate just skyrockets to over 90%. And even in a developed, super dry country like Australia, the odds get way, way better.
Let's just take Ethiopia for a second. Look at this. Going from a 50% chance of success to a 92% chance, that is not a small improvement. It's a total game changer. It literally transforms a risky gamble into a reliable scientific process. So this really brings us to the future of finding water. It's all about taking that element of chance, that feeling of just blind luck, and replacing it with cold, hard, data-driven precision.
So what does a company like Aquafuture actually sell? Well, their services are designed to be a complete solution. They offer a groundwater property report, let's call it a GPR, which basically gives you the big picture view of an area's water potential. Then they have the GPS targeting, which we saw in action in Turkey, that pinpoints the exact spot to drill. And they also have a risk management service that helps clients plan for how to use that water sustainably so it doesn't get all used up.
And the cool thing is their technology is tough enough to work just about anywhere. I mean, their projects are all over the globe, from the volcanic landscapes of Turkey to the super lush jungles of Costa Rica and all across the different types of land in the United States. So yeah, this isn't some niche solution for one type of place, it's a global one.
You know, the company's own philosophy really says it best. They say Aquafuture does not promise miracles. Instead, they provide something way more valuable: reliable technical information. They're selling certainty. They give decision makers the data they need to avoid making a multi-million-dollar mistake before a single drill ever hits the ground.
When you step back, this technology is about so much more than just drilling wells. It's a huge piece of what people are starting to call the blue economy. This big idea of using tech and data to manage our oceans and water resources in a sustainable way. It's all about being smart, strategic, and using data to handle our planet's most important resource.
And that kind of leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought, right? We started this whole thing with a couple of failed wells at a ski resort, and we ended up here. If we now have the technology to literally see veins of water flowing deep beneath our feet from all the way up in space, what else does that mean for our future? What other huge, seemingly impossible global challenges are just waiting out there to be solved, not by digging deeper, but just by looking at the data in a completely new way?